Recently, the One Piece anime announced that it would be taking an extended break, interrupting the regular weekly schedule. This could be cited as due to a number of reasons, really, but to summarize, they just didn't want the product to look like this. Anyway, with that development, I don't think anyone was particularly expecting anything major to be released during this time span. Then came the One Piece fan letter episode. Join me as I make a case for how a random filler episode, or what was supposed to be one, staked its claim as the greatest anime episode of all time. GOAT, also known as greatest of all time. What is the GOAT? What defines greatness? These are two questions that we as humans have been asking ourselves for years across many mediums, be it sports, art, and hell, even something like anime. To truly understand why this episode ranks as one of the greatest of all time, it's important to look at what constitutes greatness in any medium. In sports, for instance, greatness is not defined solely by technical skill or dominance. Figures like Muhammad Ali and Michael Jordan became legends not just for their prowess, but for their ability to transcend the game. They weren't just winners, they were symbols of something larger, representing struggles and dreams beyond the arena. I mean, for crying out loud, Jordan made a whole generation of dumbass kids believe they could fly by wearing his shoes. In a similar vein, you could say One Piece has transcended its genre. The series has often been compared to Naruto or Dragon Ball Z, both of which boast epic fights and high energy arcs. However, what elevates One Piece, and particularly the fan letter episode, is his ability to hold onto universal emotions, hope, struggle, connection, in ways that resonate deeply with the audience. And this episode embodies that quality that One Piece has. Now, think of the best anime episode you've watched. For most people, it's probably a high stakes fight scene. Naruto vs Sasuke part 1 or 2, Goku going Super Saiyan for the first time. Hell, if you look long and hard enough, you'll probably find some creep who's gonna say Naruto and Sasuke versus Momoshiki. For the most part, it's understandable. But what makes One Piece different and what makes this particular episode stand out is how it goes beyond the usual shonen tropes of high energy battles. It reaches into human emotions, aspirations, and struggles in ways that few animes can match. Now, I'm not going to paint the Straw Hat Crew as perfect icons of hope and resilience, because that's really not true. The strength of One Piece comes from the fact that its characters are flawed, imperfect, and contradictory. Luffy is driven by his boundless desire for freedom, but he's reckless, often selfish. Nami is far from an angel. She's had to deceive, steal, and manipulate to survive. But that's exactly what makes them relatable. The fan letter episode draws attention to this contradiction. It tells the story of someone who admires Nami and the Straw Hats from a distance. Their admiration is shaped by how these pirates, flawed as they may be, represent liberation and hope to the common folk. This episode doesn't shy away from the fact that the Straw Hats are pirates, with all the moral ambiguity that entails. I mean, we see a little glimpse of the horrors experienced by the average person caused by pirate folly. But it's exactly that complexity that makes them worthy of admiration. The episode reveals that they're not perfect heroes, and that's okay. They become legends in the eyes of those who follow their journey, not because they're pure, but because they fight for something larger than themselves: freedom, survival, and the dream of a better life. In this world where power controls everything, they stand as symbols to others to struggle, live, and to try and be something more than themselves. And I think that's the beauty of the story. This somewhat meta ability to connect with viewers and the characters living in the story itself, The episode showcases that in an intimate, emotional way. The girl writing the letter sees the Straw Hats, particularly Nami, in one light, but every fan and even individual in the story has their own connection. Your One Piece story might be rooted in Luffy's resilience, Zoro's loyalty, or Nami's resourcefulness. In the same way, the characters who exist in the story each have their own unique stories to tell, their own perspective. Each perspective bringing something unique to the table, but all being intertwined in this ever-expanding journey of life and the never-ending chase for freedom. The same way that Jordan inspired millions of kids to believe they could fly, One Piece for many instills hope in those watching it. And just like in sports or music, everyone's journey is personal. Some may be drawn to the grand adventures, while others may be more moved by the quiet, emotional moments. This episode illustrates that diversity in experience. For some fans, the greatest One Piece moment might be Luffy's legendary fights, like when he faces Rob Lucci or Kaido. But for others, it's these smaller, quieter episodes, like the one where Nami reflects on her past, that hit the hardest. The beauty of the fan letter episode is that it reminds us that there is no single One Piece, no singular perspective that holds more weight than the other. The journey is different for everyone, and so is the way we each connect to it. One of the best things about the episode is not just the powerful display of perspective, but also how it uses animation to amplify emotions. It doesn't need grand spectacle or flashy set pieces. Instead, it draws you in with its intimacy, the warmth in the colors, the soft lighting, the gentleness in the framing. Everything about the way this episode is animated feels personal. Unlike the dramatic, effect-filled episodes with blinding lights and Dragon Ball Z sound effects, the episode slows down, giving us room to breathe, to reflect. The emotional weight doesn't come from high-stakes battles or intense power-ups, but from the realizations that the characters, through all their flaws and complexities, have deeply impacted the world and the people in it. It comes from the use of these frames to demonstrate the impact that the characters have had and the different perspectives and reactions to it. To some, the Straw Hats are outlaws, criminals worthy of vitriol, and to others, they are inspirations, figures that make them want to reach out to the highest heavens. This duality almost parallels some of the rivalries that have existed in sports, which have defined greatness. For instance, in Ali vs. Frazier, the stakes were not just physical, but also emotional, ideological. These rivalries define the narrative of greatness because they go beyond the simple act of winning or losing, right or wrong. One Piece operates similarly. The greatest episodes aren't just about Luffy overcoming a powerful enemy like Kaido. They're also about the emotional stakes, the internal battles each character faces. Luffy, the potential joy boy, faces Kaido, the tortured man who was searching for his grander purpose. In this episode, we see the aspect of One Piece getting tapped into. We see subtle rivalries, not between two fighters, but between subtextual concepts, such as Nami's past and her present, between the life she left behind and the people who now see her as a hero. It's a battle of identities, and the outcome doesn't come with a knockout punch. There is no right or wrong, but a wide canvas to choose your own path through reflection. That, in its very essence, is the story of One Piece. So, the greatest of all time though, for what's technically filler? Well, yes and no. The One Piece fan letter special isn't just another filler episode. It's a masterclass in emotional storytelling, and it embodies what One Piece themes truly are at its core. In our world where we are held to more societal pressures than we can account for, the overwhelming pressure to achieve perfection and a continuous imposter complex, we have an episode that displays how flawed, imperfect characters can still be symbols of hope. In a world where we struggle to maintain our own autonomy and every day lose confidence on who we are and what we can be, this episode transcends the barrier of fiction to demonstrate that greatness isn't always found in power, but in the way we touch others' lives. Our desire to continue to live, dream, and strive on, even though we don't know what lies ahead. not just for ourselves, but for others who may be watching us. After all, life is a puzzle, and everyone has one piece to it. In a medium where greatness is often measured by spectacle, this episode chooses to focus on something more intimate, and in doing so proves that sometimes the greatest stories are the ones that resonate with us long after the credits roll.